All right, so good morning, all. My name is Luke Carbonaro. I was studying high school class of 2010 with Connie, um, and also Miss Davide. I can't believe it's been 11 years already. I recognize most of the teachers that have joined, uh, had had them or interacted with them in one way or another. So if we go to the next slide, please. So who am I? I'm from New York originally. Was born in Phelps there in Sleepy Hollow. Although when I was born, it was called North Tarrytown, which I got into some issues with the federal government because North Tarrytown doesn't exist in their database anymore. Moved to Austin when I was in first grade. First lived off of Spring Street, and then in middle school moved off of Ryder Road. Currently, I'm in Providence, Rhode Island, so just a couple hours away here in New England. Just like Connie, I've moved around a bit too. Some of the more exotic places I've lived was outside of Brisbane, Queensland, in Australia, as well as in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And I notice I said Mississippi because it's too hot down there to say Mississippi. It's just Mississippi. After college, after high school, I went to college at Oswego State, so SUNY Oswego. I came out as a teacher, degrees in education and history. I then pivoted into my current career path in emergency management. Got my master's in that in 2017, and I'm currently getting my master's in public health, and that's going to be a little while till I get that. I'm a certified emergency manager, so that means essentially I'm one of 2,000 people in the world who hold this designation of, as Connie was mentioning, emergencies and things like that on a very small level, which sometimes is a lot harder. I'm tasked with dealing with more macro types of disasters and planning. I'm an aspiring polyglot, so that just means I use Duolingo on my phone now and then to try and learn some German and French. And pineapple does not belong on pizza. So just a couple things right off the top there. My experience at Austin, really just going to focus on three different types of experiences. One being academic, two those extracurriculars, and three community groups of being involved in the community. That first picture there is my best friend Nick Krebser. We've been friends since the AMD Whale Watch in 2004. He actually recently got married just 2 weeks ago. Senior prom, and then Halloween of '06. Just figure I'm throwing some old photos for y'all. So academic, science research. I did science research for 3 years. By and far, that was the best thing I did at Austin High School to prepare me for the real world. Even today, I'm presenting constantly for my job, and even right now, taking those AP and SUNY level courses definitely helped, especially I went to a SUNY school. That helped immensely. And I also was a social studies nerd. I did all the law classes, economics, and things of that nature.
It's in my laptop. I heard you. Hi, Luke.
Hi, Miss Holmes.
I was walking down the hallway and I'm like, somebody said science research. How are you?
Great. If you want to stay for the presentation.
I didn't know this period. I'm so sorry. Cool. You guys are lucky. Did he tell them like what he's doing with all? He's giving like his background. Oh, okay. All right. It's all a surprise. This is like you in the fight for us. Keep going, Luke.
Thanks. So for extracurriculars, for a couple of years I was on the wrestling team. I actually had Coach Whitehead and Coach Q. I made it into the yearbook my freshman year for wrestling. And I think that was basically my only win of the year. And if you look there, it is a sloppy pin as well. But did make it into the yearbook for that. Like I said, heavy in the social studies realm. So I did mock trial, model UN, JSA was a big part of my high school career. Did the Fed Challenge team with Mr. Jaffis, which no longer exists, if I remember correctly. Did had a show in the radio club. Did National Honor Society, as well as senior year as a class officer. So was very, very involved. And in the community, pretty much other than JSA, kind of defining my high school career, so was the Austin Fire Department venturing crew. I started that when I was a freshman, and actually I considered that up until I moved to Rhode Island a year ago. Also was involved with Community Side Care and the Austin Youth Court. So after high school, my goal, my outlook was to become a JAG lawyer for the U.S. Air Force. I actually did the Air Force ROTC my freshman year of college. Unfortunately, I got injured responding to a fire with the Austin Fire Department, and that put me on the shelf and ended my Air Force career before it even took flight, pun intended. I was involved with the fire department also up in college, as well as the ambulance corps. I became an EMT and a crew chief for the ambulance. I did study abroad twice. Once, as I mentioned, in Australia, I did my student teaching there, as well as in Rome. I took organic chemistry in Rome for a quarter course, which just meant I got to sample a lot of food and beverages. So post-COVID, post-college, pre-COVID, like I said, I graduated as basically a social studies teacher from college. I then went to go teach in Tarrytown at Education First, the private institution for folks in my program, folks from around the world where English was not a first language. I wanted to either get their undergrad or graduate studies in either the US, Canada, or the UK. I taught there. I also tried to become a politician in Ossining. That did not work out well, although, I did get to meet a lot of folks in the community. As mentioned, I was involved with the Ossining Fire Department. I did 10 years, finishing as a captain and also president of Engine 101 of Independent Hose Company. If any of you are in the venturing crew, or if your parents or siblings are in the fire department, that should sound familiar. I belong to FEMA Corps, so I deployed on 2 federal disasters, leading a team down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina for Hurricane Matthew. And then when that was too much, I came back to New York and went to work for New York Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan, where I was in charge of the fire safety program. So kind of talking a little bit about what's been going on recently, the Rona. So for the first wave, as mentioned, I was in basically Midtown Manhattan, technically the Upper East Side at Cornell Hospital. I was put in charge of the safety of all the construction teams. The picture on the left side of your screen was at the Hudson Valley location in Peekskill. We were converting any type of area we had to ICU level of care or other med-surg types of units. Round 2, I moved to where I am currently in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm the safety and emergency manager for the hospital. So essentially, anything pandemic related, I'm in charge of, especially the coordination, the execution thereof. And so some of that included some CDC testing, the overall pandemic response, as well as the vaccination rollout that we've been doing since December here. Just some shots from inside of what Midtown Manhattan kind of looked like. That upper left, that's Midtown Manhattan, 5 o'clock during rush hour. I think there's one person, if you were to zoom in, there's one person there. That's kind of scary. Same thing with Grand Central, a few folks there. Really tried to be supportive of one another, dealing with being in the belly of the beast and just having sidewalk art meant a lot. And the picture in the middle is my favorite. It's just Ford actually started sending us supplies. Instead of cars, I think those were masks. Some more pictures from the hospital. So we actually changed the entryway and the main lobby of our hospital in Manhattan into patient care areas, into patient rooms. That was one of the projects I worked on. So I guess just to sum up so we can have some more time for questions, the takeaways, quote, I could have been a lawyer. That was my goal. That's what I kind of set out college to go and be. But I did not wind up as a lawyer, and that's okay. I think you'll hear from many of us that our career paths haven't been as clear-cut as we would have liked them to be. Volunteer. Get involved in whatever groups you can, whether that's formally or informally, or is that joining a club. Those of you going off to college, get involved in the clubs there. I have many friends that joined the ambulance corps in college with me that, they graduated with a bachelor's, but then became paramedics, which is only an associate degree. And they're doing that for their career now. Travel, leave home, be bold, get out there when you can. I mean, right now, probably not the best time to get out and about, but get out there, take risks. That's the only way you're going to expand and grow. Experiences versus education. As I just mentioned, a bunch of my buddies from college are now paramedics or full-time firefighters, even though they had a degree in whatever else. They just found their passion and they went for it. So that's their experience side of things. It's great that they have that education, that general knowledge, but they really relied on those experiences. And lastly, listen to your teachers. You never know how they can help you out. I was a teacher for a couple semesters right afterwards, and I remember getting with Mr. Jaffis. He actually helped me out. I was teaching an economics class, and I actually met up with him at a restaurant, and we had a great conversation. He gave me a bunch of his materials. You never know. I wound up working for Mr. Picarillo from the science research team for a couple summers. So you never know. So listen to your teachers, especially Miss Davide. So there you go, Connie. There's a picture from from high school.
Hold on. Thanks, Luke. That was great. But yeah, anyway, so that was absolutely awesome from the both of you. I'm just catching up on the chat to see if anybody has any questions. That was a lot to go over. Between the two of them, I think they hit most of the country. So let me just ask for a minute. Does anybody have any questions? I know from the classes.
Francesca or Connie, can you explain how you ended up in Kentucky, in New York?
Can you say how I ended up in Kentucky? Yeah, so again, I got introduced to athletic training by Luis at OHS, and was really looking around at athletic training programs throughout the country. There's a ton in New York for SUNY schools, but I kind of wanted to work at a big school. I wanted to get away for a little bit, and I just decided to apply to a bunch of places. Kentucky was one of them. UConn was another. And actually, I went to a basketball game at Madison Square Garden where Kentucky was playing UConn, and there was more fans for Kentucky than they were for UConn. And I was like, I don't know what this madness is of basketball and these fans traveling, but I feel like I just need to be a part of it. And yeah, so just went down and actually was more amazing than I could have ever imagined.
Mr. Yonko just asked, any regrets or do-overs would you do if you can go back to high school, college, or anything else? Either one of you, just jump in.
Kind of redoing things. I wish I spent a little bit more time doing things I enjoyed. One thing I kind of gave up on in high school, as I mentioned, almost tongue-in-cheek, was an aspiring polyglot. I really do wish I spent more time in high school doing more foreign languages. I did do Spanish and passed my Spanish Regents, and then I took a year of Italian with Mr. Passanante. I know he's retired since, but come senior year, I gave that up because I wanted to focus, thinking I was going to become a lawyer and just kind of, molding myself that way. But, and then in college, I wound up taking German, studying that formally, and, then French on my own. So I kind of wish I kind of, in retrospect, maybe took another year of Italian in high school, or just, something, not so serious, and got to, do something more for fun.
Yeah, I think especially you kind of get, sometimes you have an idea of what you think you want to be, and so you kind of put all your eggs in one basket. And so I wish that, especially in college, there's so many options of classes. I really wish that I just took more, because in my head I said, this is what I want to do, and this is the classes that I need to take to get there. And I think I really missed out on all of the additional opportunities that I could have taken. Even in Ossining, there's so many options at the high school level that you don't know what you like until you try it. And so I think that, try everything if you can and do as much as you can. Don't try not to get so pigeonholed, I think would be something that I would like to go back and redo.
Excellent. Luke, a question for you is, why did you decide to switch careers?
Great question. It wasn't by choice. I actually got laid off from teaching. I was at a private institution, and enrollment went down. I was the newest teacher. Granted, I was the only one with a formal teaching degree that I was with. I was with a lot of retirees, content experts, but that didn't matter in a business. Newest person, first one to go. And so with that, my passion is still for teaching. I still, as part of my job here, I do a lot of training. In New York, I had to open up a brand new hospital. So all of our staff had to be trained for safety and emergency preparedness. So I had to oversee the curriculum and execution of about 3,000 different staff members. So I had 3,000 students but it's one of those things where I just pivoted. I wound, what did I like doing? I enjoyed being a firefighter and an EMT. And I tried to saw how that could materialize into a career. And I went to FEMA Corps, and that's part of AmeriCorps. So if any of you are looking to take a gap year, I highly suggest looking into the AmeriCorps programs. You get to travel the country, you get money for school, and you get to meet folks from around the country. I had somebody in my unit that was from the Pacific Islands, from American Samoa, that came. So that was, amazing just to get to experience and talk with that individual.
That's awesome. Thank you. Mr. Redhead's asking, how do you plan to grow in your current career? Honestly, I think even both of you can answer that. I think it would be interesting.
Sure. So for me, I think that, any field in healthcare, any field in science, you're consistently growing, and it's really important to make sure that you're staying on top of the trend and research, especially because in medicine, things are always changing. We're learning new things. I mean, these past few years are a prime example of that, of how things evolve and you have to learn on the fly. And so for me specifically, just making sure that I'm staying on top of the research. Obviously, with this pandemic, there's going to be a lot of things that we've learned this year that are going to, practices that we have taken into place that are going to continue, especially in the field of athletics, that we're going to make sure that we continue to grow. Also, for me, I think it's just making sure that I'm staying on top of the best things for my athletes, when they get hurt, making sure that I'm not doing something that maybe medicine and research has proven that, hey, it's, something new. So I think that even when you're in your career and you've been doing it for a few years, or you're just starting out, there are always, you always got to keep taking courses, and you always got to keep learning, because especially in medicine, things are always changing.
I would say networking. It's the only way you grow, meeting people. One of the things I started doing when I was a freshman in college is I created my LinkedIn. And now, it's technically it's social media, but I don't see it as such. It's one of those things where that's, especially in this digital age, that's the best way to get to try to meet folks. You join groups, networks that, you're interested in. I wound up meeting some great mentors along the way and other colleagues. I know plenty of folks that just by networking, that they've gotten jobs. It's just about who you know. So that's one of the things is to kind of grow, and it's just listening to your peers. I have colleague from, actually I was on a call last week with a colleague from the University of Connecticut at UConn. We were talking.
Hold on. What are top 1 to 3 skills that you think are necessary to succeed in your respective fields? How did you discover and hone on those skills? What are those skills?
I think the first one is a little bit off of like what Luke said earlier, networking and just like talking with people. And I think that that definitely starts in high school. Again, it goes back to the Austin High School diversity. There's people that are from all different walks of life, different religions, socioeconomic status, all different kinds of things. And just getting to be friends with all of those people, as well as all the different kinds of teachers. You've got teachers that have just started teaching, as well as teachers that are just about to retire soon. And so you really get to hone in on your communication skills when starting off in high school, and then you get to take those and really grow in college when you don't know anybody. And then that just continues to grow from there and really into your career. I know, especially for my career in athletics, we really have to develop these relationships with these athletes and get them to trust us. And that comes from communicating and getting to know that, hey, how do they know that they feel comfortable telling me something? It's because they know I care. And the way I do that is through communication every single day. And that starts, that for me, it started really in high school, noticing, hey, like, I like talking to all these different people. Like, hey, maybe I'm not the best at, memorization or anything like that, but like, I know that I can talk to my teachers if I have a problem. I know I can talk to my friends if they're good at something. So I think one of the big things is communication. And for me, that really started in high school.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing too. And knowing how to, do presentations and public speaking. That's one thing science research helped give me the foundational base for doing all those presentations at the competitions. And then even, becoming a teacher, all your teachers, they present and they public speak every single day. And for me right now, I'm not a teacher, but that's something that I lean on heavily and every day. Yeah, I talk and have conversations with the president of the hospital, senior VPs, even sometimes the CEO and the CEO of our organization. I have to give presentations. It's one of those things where you start learning in high school. It's like even those that do like drama club, you're presenting yourself on the stage, getting comfortable with that. So those are some of the softer skills that you start to learn and get those, the basis in high school with.
Thank you. I think we can wrap it up with this final question, which I think is very important. If someone wanted to work for you, what would you look for on their resumes?
So I just hired somebody. This individual never had worked in a hospital before. This individual, she had worked for 15 years and managing dental practices. It's healthcare, but it's not my specific type of healthcare, which is hospital based. But this individual, just more than anything, was willing to be flexible. Had the education, had the experience, had the right attitude, but more than anything is being flexible. And that's something I still struggle with. I'm a planner. I don't like when things don't go to according to my plan. So that's, if you're able to show your flexibility, especially in the interview process, and show that, passion and you want to grow, that's something too. If you just want to come and do the job, okay. But if you, that positive attitudes, like, no, I wanted to advance my career, I want to learn, I want to grow, that's something I look to when I hire.
Yeah, I think also just like versatility. You don't have to be 100%. If this is even remotely close to what you think you're doing, I always recommend just apply, because you never know what people are going to be looking for. They might have 100 applicants of the same kind of person, and they're looking for that one person to kind of come in and spice things up. And that could be you. So go out on a limb. We always look for people that are versatile, that are willing to, kind of just learn, like Luke said, just learn and grow. And you can really show that through your resume and cover letter writing. Just make sure you've got good grammar and sentence structure.
Yeah,
Side note, before we all end, I just want to say thank you to all the teachers, Luke too, that have just let us come and talk to your kids all the time. And thank you for influencing us as we've grown up and still taking us in despite all the mistakes we made.
Thank you guys so much. Ms. Davide, I just want to ask a question. Are you guys happy? Did you make the right choices? Are you happy right now? Because that's the key, isn't it?
That's a great question, Mr. Jaffis. I have to say for myself, I'm really happy. I am so blessed to love what I do and to actually get paid for it. And I love it. And that's a great question because, yeah, I mean, I hate that I'm so far away living in Ohio and I miss my family and my friends. But every single day, I'm just really glad that I get to do what I love.
Yeah, overall happy with a lot of things. I've definitely been a little overworked the last 18 months. The only day I got to work from home was Thanksgiving this past year. But I'm happy with what I do. Yeah, I'm in here, I know, affecting change, both for not only my patients in the hospital, but for the overall community as well.